Well, greetings and thanks for joining us today for another episode of Light Bulb Moments, episode number 119. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're joining us by YouTube, thank you for watching the recording. If you're joining us live, welcome, and we appreciate you joining us. I'm Tom Kuhn. I'm host and curator of Light Bulb Moments. And remember, money isn't the most important thing, but it's reasonably close to oxygen on the gotta have it scale. At Qnity, we help go from the old rules to the new rules, which is simple, visual, and actionable, and help you create a clearer path towards greater prosperity, whatever that looks like for you. Remember to prosper, manage your ATM, the three currencies we have in life: attention, time, and money. And it's not lost on us that you're spending your precious time with us today. So thank you for that. We love hearing from you. Whether you have some light bulb moments of your own or if you have a guest that you'd like to suggest. So certainly go to our website or connect with us in some way, because again, we love hearing from you. Our last guest was Melissa Doman. That was May 17th. We've taken a couple weeks off. Melissa was a great guest, and she also joined us at the Phil, and the subject of the last light bulb moment with her was why talking about mental health is critical. Today we have joined us from across the pond, Minter Dial. We'll get to Minter in a few minutes here. Good morning. Thanks for joining us from London. We've got a few things before we bring him to the mic, but we're super excited to have Minter join us live from London. At Qnity, we help provide financial wellness for pro beauty, whether it's students through our Money EDU or Money Pro, which is financial wellness for those in the workforce, our Money SBO, which is financial management for small business owners and those that think and act like owners. Couple different points of announcements or follow-up. The Beauty Changes Lives silent auction that we rolled out at the Phil is still open. And so it's not too late to create some bids. We've extended it through this coming Friday. At that time, it will close. We have some great things to take advantage of that not only will go to a great cause, which is Beauty Changes Lives, which is all about making professional beauty a first choice career, but it also will do things to help you in your business. There's some business education, experiences, and even dog gear and art. Some of the things to highlight is Candy Shaw has some great items that she's been very generous to donate. The Bali Lama herself, she's a shadow day with her. She has a balayage course, and she has the sunlight symposiums. Also, there is something by Jan Arnold, Blondes, which is a great item. Some Congress tickets, ultraceutical items, as well as some other experiences, including Serious Business, 2 tickets, plus 2 nights hotel at the Commons Hotel, which is a wonderful property, as well as a property generously donated by Linnell Lynch out in Oregon. I do want to highlight one item in particular. This is a very generous donation by Janet Williams, and this is a care culture assessment workshop and action pathways. Janet has very generously donated it's not just a consult, it's something that will make a marked difference with your team. Heath Smith actually brought her in and did a wonderful testimonial about it. So not too late to bid on these items. We do close on Friday. Aaron is going to join us, and Aaron is joining us as we speak. Perfect timing, Aaron. Good morning. How are you? I'm going to go to the next slide because Aaron's going to talk a little bit about industry advocacy. Good morning, Aaron. How are you?
Good morning. I had a little bit of tech difficulties, but I'm here. So sorry I'm behind.
Your timing is perfect. So Aaron, you're going to talk about some industry advocacy today. And, you know, we are constantly in this forum using it as an opportunity to advocate for the industry. And we do have a group of leaders that join us each week. But this one has a little bit more of a serious and time-sensitive call to action. So I'm going to just advance the slides and turn it over to you, please.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tom. So I put this together and really tried to simplify this for you because beyond industry advocacy, this is really what I would say a critical thing for all business owners and everyone in the industry to be aware of for the success of their businesses. So it really goes beyond that because of the severity of the threats that we're looking at. And so we need you, and we have a bit of an ask here around what a potential rule is that's actually gone into effect, which is called gainful employment. And so I've got about 2 minutes to keep this really high level. So number one, what gainful employment is it's basically a rule that's going into effect that would actually prevent future professionals that would work in your business from receiving federal student loan support to equip them to experience a cosmetology education. What could this rule do? The potential effects are fatal for many beauty schools, and I don't think that's an over or misrepresentation, with a source estimating that it will close at least 2/3 of all beauty schools, which will obviously create major ripple effects as you look at talent for your businesses. So that leads me right into my next one, which is why should you care? It would further magnify shortage of talent and essentially financially blocks prospective talent from entering the industry because it's not a career that they're equipped or that they're able to get federal student loan support on. So Tom, you can go to the next one. And so I think just another relevant fact is according to NCES, 69% of all bachelor degree earners did receive some sort of student loans. And so it really seems actually more unfair that for those who want to choose to pursue a career in a specific trade with a much quicker path to earnings compared to traditional four-year schools would not have the opportunity to get federal loan support. And so here's my very specific, clear ask. We need you to make a post in a public comment period before June 20th. And basically what this is it's the last stitch effort to potentially eliminate or minimize the ability for this law to pass. So it's already gone forward. And so without getting into the politics, this is what we need you to do. The government is required to, Tom, could you go back for a second? The government is required to read your comments. And so really specifically with this comment, we need employers and those working in leadership of salons, spas, and med spas to be able to say how this potential rule, if you didn't have talent, and if GE passes, how this would impact you as employers, and really also share what you do for your community, any sort of data around compensation, how many people you employ, et cetera. I don't know if Rebecca from Lords and Ladies is on this, but she had a really good point that her business really relies on flexibility of her workers. So again, it's the last option to advocate for the industry. So here's 2 simple steps that you can do. Number one, this comment cannot be generic. You need to post. You need, if you go to this QR code, that will take you directly to the screenshot Tom shared. But the key thing in this comment is it needs to be quality and quantity. So it can't just be like a don't pass gainful employment. You need to really post your thoughts and really share how this would impact you personally. So again, all those comments are required to be read. You can scan that QR code. And I think JP, if you could also post it, that would be great. And then on the next slide, I'll just give you a screenshot of what this looks like. So this is actually where you would be posting. You can see where the comments have been posted, and you're actually able to read all people's comments on this, but that's where we want you to post. It is a government forum. So you've got 13 days to post this. So as soon as possible is really, really important. And then I've got one more resource for you, and then I'll turn it back to you, Tom. If you go to the next page. AACS, American Association of Cosmetology Schools, has put together a very, very simple form with some scripting recommendations. If you'd like, you can click that QR code to go there as well. If you need more information, I'm available. Linnell, I know, is on this, and she's happy to chat to any employers as well. But really most important is that you actually post a comment on that website that I shared, the regulations.gov, specifically around that rule. So thank you. Let me know if you have any questions, and appreciate your comments. It's really, really vital to do so. And I'll turn it back to you, Tom.
Aaron, thank you. As if we don't have enough human capital challenges, this one is worthy of a spotlight on it. So sorry if you felt rushed, Aaron, but this is real. I wanted to make sure we added it to the agenda today. So I certainly echo everything that Aaron said here. We actively will be doing what we can on our part, because this kind of goes back to part of the purpose that we did the compensation study, is the stigma about a career in the professional beauty industry continues. And some of these gainful employment assumptions are based upon very, very flawed data, which is extremely frustrating. So, all right, so let's do a cleanse from that. And I'm going to give you my light bulb moment for this week. It is going to be obviously about the fill. This is actually my light bulb moment for the last 2 weeks, since we've taken the last couple of weeks off. My heart is full from our wonderful time that we had with many of you in Austin. And I don't even know where to start, other than just a quick summary of just some of the things that, to me, were some of the major takeaways at this event, which I can't believe was 2 weeks ago. Certainly, it was great to have a surprise guest joining us on Tuesday morning, John Paul DeGioia. He was very inspiring, had some great things. And then, if I were to do my own 9 grid about the fill and, some of the things that was super exciting. It was awesome to award 2 more golden light bulbs this year. The recipients were Phil Horvath and Tracy Herring, very deserving of them. We also had just great workshops. We released some new tools, paper and digital, data. We also had a 9 grid gallery. We also have a world-class portrait photographer taking portraits during the event, David Rakulia. Super excited to show you some of the amazing prints that came out of that. And I could go on and on and on, but I'm most curious, what were some of your favorite moments about the Phil? So if you joined us in the Phil, use the chat, say, what were your favorite moments at the Phil? And we're certainly going to be talking about some of the things that we rolled out at the Phil in upcoming weeks. So I'm going to keep it short because I want to get to our guest mentor who is kind enough to join us. But before I do that, one other announcement. This is actually a good segue from the Phil. We do have a live workshop coming up in Minnesota, coming up July 26th and 27th, up in the Twin Cities. And this is the way to really go deep into the execution tools and the execution systems, of which many of you described were a part of your favorite part of the Phil, was some of the new tools in this system. So not too late to join us. You can go to our website and connect with Marie from our team, and we'd love to see you here in the Twin Cities. Mentor, how are you?
I am fine. There we are.
Well, it's great to see you this morning.
Lovely to see you. Great to see some familiar names and hear some familiar names.
And so you're joining us from the UK.
Indeed.
What time? It's like what, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, something like that, your time?
It's 45 minutes to cocktail time.
Mentor, you are an interesting guy. And I think that certainly I had heard about you because you were the facilitator for a very unique and challenging assignment back in April. And then we got a chance to meet each other face to face. And we had a few moments where I got to see you and spend time with you. And your body of work just is incredible. I don't even know where to start. But, first and foremost, I want to unpack how we met, and then we'll gradually segue into some of the things you're working on and the great work you're doing. So you had the assignment, a very, very, some might consider to be a challenging assignment, to really facilitate a meeting with many leaders in the beauty industry that have never sat in the room at the same time. And it was a roundtable, invitation only. It was in April. It was on the eve of the America's Beauty Show, as well as other things going on, including the Beauty Changes Lives Gala. And so you had in the room CEOs, C-level executives, and I came at the end for the recap, and clearly you did a brilliant job of getting people to talk to each other. So you managed conversations. I don't want to spend too much time on that because we've got some other stuff, but just unpack that experience that you had in prepping, sort of before, during, and after.
First of all, thank you for the glowing words, and thank you for having me on the show. As far as the event was concerned, I certainly contributed, but I also feel that I was well surrounded and well taken care of in terms of giving me the right types of information to make this sort of event work. When I work with C-suites, even in their own business, there's also lots of shenanigans. And it's important that when I'm doing this type of facilitation, I know what's going on. I know where there's bad blood and difficulties or personalities. And so the team with Lisa, Linnell, and everybody really helped me to get a good grip on that. Of course, it helped that I'd been in the industry. And what I wanted to do was make it an experience. And by making it an experience, because at the end of the day, that's what I think life's all about. So if we can somehow make it an experience that they want to talk about, well, that's a good thing. So how do you do that? Well, you have to surprise them a little bit. And I also had to use a little authority, sort of impose a style of conversation. Wordy style. I use, of course, the authority, the fact that there's something I didn't invent. It was been done before in the form of an empathy circle, where everybody had a chance to talk, the introverts, the quiet, and everybody had to listen, the loud, the big personalities. So it's really quite a good way of getting everybody in a room to talk, despite everybody's issues and barriers or personality traits. And that's really what I wanted to do. And it seemed like it was pulled off largely, as I say, because of the good preparation and because it was something a little bit new. And that intrigue helped bring a few people probably into the room.
Well, I think that's a great summation. And now I want to segue over to what you do. Certainly we can go on your LinkedIn and see some things you've done, some of the work you've done in the beauty industry. But right now, you describe yourself as an elevator, a keynote speaker, an LED advisor. You're an award-winning author, podcaster, and featured Substack writer, and it goes on and on and on. And you're a publisher. You also a writer. You write books. And what's interesting to me is you're in the middle of publishing another book right now. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that with you. And essentially, I think for the remainder of our time together this morning, let's have a conversation about conversations. Because that's really what you write about, right? Is conversation and
not
empathy.
Only that. Yeah, Tom, not only that I write about it, I feel like I've been doing it. This is something that, like I said, an experience is what life's all about. And conversation is a sort of the food within the experience. It's that connection, the relationship. And while I can't say I'm an expert in relationships, far from it, my wife would be quick to tell me that. I love having exciting, let's say even risky conversations. And the reason why I felt compelled to write this book was that I feel like in society, we have lost the nerve and the skill of having meaningful, ruffle feather conversations where we can legitimately learn from one another and commune together.
Nerve and skill. Is that what you said? You also used the word risk, not normally things you might hear when talking about conversations.
Yeah, probably my Europeanness is coming through in this regard, because we tend to wish to talk about safe spaces and political correctness. And my observation is while there's lots of goodness within that, I feel like we have gone so far as to sanitize all conversation. So I feel like we need to get back in, a little bit nervy, get back into the fray, put your hands in the mud, let's get dirty again.
I read somewhere, and I can't remember where, otherwise I'd give proper credit, that friction polishes stones. Might there be some truth in that?
I love it. I mean, my filter recently, Tom, has been going just crazy on this need for imperfection. And we've sort of gone absolutely bonkers in trying to perfect everything we say and mold and polish and get everything right and do good. And I literally believe that has contributed to some of the mental health issues we have today. Aspiring to be perfect, aspiring to always do good. Of course, at its heart, it's good intention. However, it's just gone overboard. And all we do is show how good we are. And we forget to accept or embrace the fact that we aren't always perfect.
Keep going. I want you just keep talking. I'm loving this conversation because I think you keep on that thread, please.
Yeah. Well, so let's say, let's talk about how, I'm going to tell you about concretely how I like to encourage and foster conversation in my personal life, because I think it's something you can all take away. As I just heard Jan, right? We need some grit. We need some gift. Well, this is what I'd like to give for you, how I run dinner parties. So my wife and I, about once a month, have what some people or the French might call a salon version dinner party. We invite 6 people, so usually we're 8. We only have a round table because that's critical in the idea of connection. And at this table, we invite a group of people who usually don't know each other. And we then concoct a theme that we will discuss at the dinner. And some of the people have been at these before, but most of the times it's a first time. And the idea of the theme is to not allow anyone to be an expert of that theme, so that everybody is in listening mode, curious to find out mode. So we've done about 250 of these dinner parties.
Wow.
And the concept, the nature of it, time is short, right? We can't have dinner parties every night. I mean, outside of anything else, it takes a bucket load of effort, money, and all this. And so we do it about once a month. And since we only have that many dinner parties, well, at our house anyway, we like there to be a before, a during, and an after. So the before, about 10 days before the dinner party, we've selected everybody. Then I send out this juicy email, and the email says, this is the before part. Hey, Tom, welcome to my dinner. You take this as a surprise, but there's going to be a theme. And here's the theme. The theme for this Saturday, actually in 3 days' time, is the paradox. And through the theme, what you need to do, first of all, you need to do is you have to find out what is the greatest paradox for you in life today. And if you're coming with somebody, a partner, you can't share what your paradox is. So you get to discover your partner's paradox at the table, live in front of strangers. That provides a little titillation. And this little excitement, this little bit of mystery, I think is lovely in our lives. There's also the pressure to say, oh, darn, is my paradox the right paradox? Am I saying the right things in the right company? So there's a leveling up story. Get everybody into the dinner party, and then I concoct the dinner party. We have a process, and it usually lasts about 6 hours long. And by the end, everybody's pretty much sloshed, but you don't have to drink. And everybody wants to share everyone's emails. And yet, they only know their first names. Mm. They don't know what you do. They have no idea what rank you have, how much money you own. It's really all about discovering you through the theme. And of course, the nature of the themes that we put together try to be on the edge of nerviness, right? Because let's say the word docs. I don't know if you've ever come, there's orthodoxy, and there's different thoughts around the nature of beliefs and opinions today. So I'm looking for people who be interested to look at the orthodoxy, the different beliefs that are running around. And we might have some risque conversations along the way. And this without anybody knowing that so-and-so is a journalist, or so-and-so is an author, or so-and-so is a CEO. Anyway, this is how my wife and I, have concocted these conversations. And the after is usually some follow-up email where I connect everybody. And then everybody says, oh my God, I had no idea you had a Wikipedia page, or I had no idea you did this and that. And that's delicious, because there's sort of an element of imposed humility in it. So these are types of things that I think we need to do in our lives in general to bring more conversation around, Tom.
I know that you're a writer of books, and you probably don't need another project, but have you ever thought about writing a book about these 250 sessions, which will soon be, I don't know how many more in the future?
Yeah, so yes, I've had a few people suggest that I have to write some crazy books about what's happened in my life, and probably legitimately at some level I ought to, just so it's logged. But this new book I'm writing, Tom, it's called Dialogos, and I'm writing it on Substack. And so if anyone doesn't know Substack, it's a writing platform. It's a writer's platform.
Okay.
And the beauty of Substack is it allows, it's very convenient for writers in terms of the easy layout. It provides a couple of different methods. You can even do video releases or audio releases, and then it's very easy to subscribe. And unlike so many other things, you can either subscribe for free, in which case great, or if you like or you value the writing and the quality of the writing, you can pony up some money. So in my case, for my Substack, I have around about 700 subscribers. I have roughly a tenth of them who have paid, and the payment is anywhere between $10 a month up to as much as you want to give, of course. But it's sort of, it's £70 actually a year, for example. Anyway, that's kind of a nifty thing. And the idea that I had, Tom, as I had mentioned to you a little bit before, was that I wanted to write this book in a fashion that I'd never done any other book. So this will be my 6th book, in fact. And I decided to write it starting in January 2022. And every Thursday at 5 p.m., I drop a chapter and publish it. And really what I was, and some of you will recognize, this is a style of writing that was very popular in the 19th century, in the time of Dickens and such, where they would publish a chapter in a newspaper. And so here I am writing a book about conversation. I have a rhythm that's quite insane, Tom, for sure. 1 chapter a week, every Thursday at 5 p.m., usually around 3,000 words. And that's a rhythm to go. And then on top of that, I'm writing about conversation on a platform that allows conversation in a life where I look for conversation. So inevitably what's happening is that I might write something, and then comments and thoughts come in, which I have to end up layering into the ongoing chapters. So it's a really organic piece of writing. I'm up to around about 300,000 words. And I'm hoping to put it to bed by the end of July, and then sort it through and come out with a book. And one of the versions of the book, so I won't do 1,000 page words. I mean, just imagine the horror. I mean, that would probably, that's going to be, it's close to 800 page book, right? I will be chopping it into pieces. And one of the pieces will be how to host a dinner party.
Gotcha. I think that's a fascinating style of writing. And, I'm one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, and if you heard of him from The Strategic Coach, I mean, he just published a book called Who Not How. And he had just written mini books and wanted to do major market book, and ultimately wrote the book by virtue of a podcast. But you have the creativity that is coming from you is very evident, but that's also, this is a lot of discipline, and this is a lot of streaks every single week or once a month, 250 dinners. It has to be key to what I would say would be an incredible body of work, 6 books, these dinner parties, and so much more that we won't even cover today. So you're a man of discipline, you're a man of creativity, and you're also a man of adventure. So, I want to get to adventure for a moment, because you and I talked about some adventures, including some of the ventures that I've had in my life. But you had a great quote about adventure, and let's go there now. Go through your quote about adventure. I love it.
Right. Well, I certainly, I think you were intimating about my life. I feel like I have lived a life of adventure with the number of encounters with, really looking at death in the face, in the form of a Russian mafia, being pulled outside of a train at 2 o'clock in the morning by the Russian border police. That's a couple of examples, but I've had a bunch more. So yeah, my saying is, an adventure without risk is not an adventure. And a life without adventure is not a life. This suggests that, and really comes back to my initial proposition, which is we need a little bit more badness in our life. Risk is a form of badness. It's oh dear kind of thing. They're risk officers at insurance companies. They're people who are managing risks and trying to tame risk and get rid of risk, because risk entails possibility of failure, entails possibilities of damage, maybe even death. And we're trying to poo-poo all these topics. And I feel like we need to reintroduce a little bit of risk. So when I do my dinner parties, by the way, we've had failures. Of course, I don't get it right every time, and the mix of people and such. But on balance, I'm prepared to keep on bullying through. And if we can't accept the risks and the possibility of failure and pain, then we're looking for a sanitized life. And I really am not interested in the sanitized life.
You're not interested in a sanitized life. I love that. I want to let that one sit for a moment. So your book, and you mentioned Viktor Frankl, and how that was an inspiration, or how that really plays into the name, etc. So let's lean into your book a little bit more and continue the conversation about conversations.
Right. So I a little cheekily, so I have been doing this podcast, and my podcast is called Minter Dialogue. So for anyone who doesn't know, that's obviously a play on my name. And one of the things that was really something that's run through all of my work is the need to insert more meaningfulness into what we do and how we live and who we want to be. And one of the archetypal books that really formatted my thinking and really impregnated in me a move to do more meaningful things was reading Viktor Frankl's book, the meaning, life's what is it? Life's meaning of man.
In Search of Meaning, I believe.
In Search of Meaning. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. And what he did is he created logotherapy after that, and that became a worldwide well-known style of psychology, where you are in creating meaning out of people's lives, logotherapy. And so logo comes from logos, and of one of the two principal meanings or definitions of this word in Greek, it means meaning. So you have logo or logos, the brands, but here we're really looking at logos, the idea of meaning. And so the dialogos is putting meaning into conversation. And so a very strong hat tip to Viktor Frankl. And I've interviewed people who have been his acolytes. I've devoured his reading, his writings, and his thoughts. And maybe what I want to do is keep it alive. I think if so many people are struggling with mental health today, if so many businesses are running ragged, my belief is for both, it's because they have lost their meaning. And if you don't have meaning that's profound, then it gets thin and you get tired. And this is what I'm trying to do in this book, Dialogos, how to foster more meaningful conversations. And that's, so the image I have of the book cover is a bridge where on both sides of the bridge, there are different opinions, and learning how to meet in the bridge. And how can we have those types of conversations where we absolutely don't want to always agree with everybody. I mean, that just sounds like a sanitized life, echo chamber life, where everybody agrees with you already. And, you have to go in the door with a passport that says, I believe this, in which case, oh, you're allowed in. You get a stamp of approval. No, we got to go back to the ability to have meaningful conversations where we're learning from one another, where we're getting gritty, a little bit messy. It can be risky, but let's get back in and roll. That's my impulsion.
You mentioned like, you've taken different angles in conversations. You mentioned something about a minister. And so a couple more highlights on the book, then I want to get to the subject of empathy.
So what I did, Tom, I'm not the expert of all conversations. What I've tried to do in my life is explore conversations, have conversations, and what I did is more I got into it, the more I realized that there are so many crazy, interesting types of conversations. So you mentioned a minister. So this is very pro-American, or at least very American-centric, because the minister in particular is an evangelical minister. And his name is Rob Schenck. He's got a large Wikipedia page. There's also a documentary film about him by Abigail Disney, and a book called Costly Grace. So he's a minister who I met on an airplane, and ironically, we were in the lounge and about to get on the plane, and the woman who had been tending to us said, "Oh, do you know over there? They made a documentary film about him." And I looked over and I didn't see who it was, but he's a Nobel Prize winner. I was like, "Oh my God, I really want to meet him." So I was like, that'd be exciting. But he went down the aisle to the right. I went to the left. I missed him. So I sat down, and this man opposite me, he leans over between the window and he says, "Sir, I don't want you to believe that I'm rude, but I'm very tired. I need to go to sleep. So I'm going to put this shutter up and I'm going to go to sleep right away." Well, sir, if you were rude, I don't think you would have asked my permission to do that. So please, I'm very tired too. Let's go to sleep. 5 hours later, we were still talking. And he ended up admitting to me how he has had death threats, 2 to 3 a day, because he turned on his community. Anyway, that's the nature of the documentary film. Rob Schenck is a truly interesting individual, because on top of being one of the most well-known evangelical ministers, he's been the evangelical advisor to 5 of the last 7 presidents as sitting presidents. So that means that he would go and visit Reagan, Bush, and Obama and Clinton, and he would give them advice with regard to his community. And how do you have that conversation? What does that conversation look like? And so he just spelled that out for me in a podcast that I'll be releasing in a week or so. And that's one. I've got another one with a French man called Hervé Franceschi, who is this delightful individual who, since very young age, has had conversations with trees. And so he just laid out for me how he does it, why he does it, how he does it, and what it tells us about us. I mean, so many times in our conversations, Tom, when we get irate, it's a signal to us it's about me. It's like when you point at somebody, you got the 3 pointing back at you with fingers. How do you be present in these conversations? And what's it telling you? What are the triggers? What are you feeling when you converse? Anyway, this man explains how he has conversation with trees and how absolutely calming it is to be able to get there. Because in order to be able to get there, you have to be calm.
Yeah, I could spend 5 hours talking to you, but we don't have 5 hours. And
Rats.
this is amazing conversation, but I do want to get to one more area. I mentioned empathy, but you mentioned your comment on AI. And when we spoke, you paired the word empathy in AI, which isn't a pairing that you would normally see. So why don't you unpack that a little bit, and then we'll move up towards wrap.
Right. Well, I just want to circle back on one thing, which is with regard to the beauty industry, just to anchor that thought, which is the beauty salon with roughly 1,200 clients per stylist or person working there. There's so many relationships there, and many of the conversations can be very important for your customers. And so I'm hoping that it also resonates with people who are listening and running businesses, because at the end of the day, every business is a human to human business. So this might make it curious that AI has a relationship with empathy. So the reality is that AI is here. AI has been here longer than we think. It's only recently that many people woke up to the fact that it's around. And in it being around, it's relating with us all the time. So how can it relate with us to us better is really the fundamental idea underneath the idea of inserting empathy into AI. But my trickier part, and the reason why I wrote the book, was that I see a lot of lack of empathy. And so the hook, my fishing hook idea within this book, was to look at any individual who says, oh, great, why don't we encode empathy into the AI? Because that will make our businesses much better. And that's an opportunity for me to say, well, and you? How empathic are you? Oh, no, I just want to delegate empathy to the machine, because the machine will do all the work. Well, I got news for you. First of all, if you don't know what empathy is, what are you going to be encoding? Two, if internally your culture is not empathic, there's going to be a terrible alarm sound when the customers who are interfacing with your empathic AI actually meet you, your organization, your salesperson, whatever. So you have to have tremendous congruency between how you are as an internal culture and what you're doing with the AI. Anyway, the bottom line is I wanted to explore this book to introduce the idea of empathy into business, just in our way, who we are, especially internally, the empathic relationships that we have with our employees. And if you can do that within, then it's a lot easier to do it without. In other words, towards your suppliers, distributors, your customers, and so on. And then we have the AI piece, because it is coming, and there will be desires, maybe temptations, to use it to do more things. But then we need to be very wary of our ethical framework. Why are we using AI to replace us? Or why do we want to put empathy into AI? To manipulate? Or to render my business better? Or to render your customer's life better? And so we need to think carefully about what our purpose is, what are we trying to do, our intention, and our ethics that go into it. So these are the types of topics that I wanted to lay out in my book. And I also have a whole chapter dedicated to therapeutic AI and how to make an AI better at that, because of the, alongside with our mental health issues, we have wicked loneliness.
Mhm.
And in society, we're not there for each other. And so I say, well, it'd be great if we were there for each other. But in the meantime, in any event, let's think about trying to create companionship that has empathy, that has good ethical intentions, to help, for example, all the older people who are being left alone in old people's homes because nobody has time to take care of them, or a suicidal teenager who doesn't know who to call at 2 o'clock in the morning because it's tricky. Well, may there be a great therapeutic AI responder who knows how to handle that call. It's not just a machine, but really knows how to interface, provide some kind of guidance, and of course, access to a human if needed.
Wow, what a powerful session with you today, Minter. I totally enjoyed this today, and I want everybody to give Minter a virtual round of applause. Give him a little shout out there in the chat. Minter, we have a tradition where we provide a light bulb, $1 million light bulb, to all of our guests. And now, of course, we can mail this. But you did invite me to dinner when we spoke, and perhaps this dinner might be one of these epic dinners. So I might have to personally bring it over to London with me. I did entertain the idea with my wife, but what a wonderful session. I'm hoping we have a part 2 to this. I'm hoping you're going to come back. So the book's going to be published next month, right?
Well, so Dialogos, I'm going to finish the writing of it.
Finish it,
next
okay.
month. So I mean, because I've been on a real journey, frankly, it's been a marathon for me. So I've got to put it to bed. I've got a few more interesting chapters to write or contributions to have that I'll put out there. And then I have to sort through and figure out how I'm going to break it out. And my hope is to find a publisher. I want to do these into sort of like 30,000 word books, and have them little sort of segment, like a series of books on how to have conversations in the boardroom, at home, with a stranger, the different types of conversations that we can have.
Well, we're going to recommend the book. We're going to push it out. We're going to do what we can to make sure that this body of work gets out there. So stay in close touch with us. I'm sure you and I will stay in close touch going forward, but great guest today. I'm so appreciative you spent the time with us, and I was dying to have you as a guest. As soon as I met you and got to spend a little bit more time, and I'm just kind of spinning with ideas, and I've had plenty of light bulb moments myself today. So thank you for that. Bravo, much appreciated.
Thank you so much, you guys. I love to see some names. Lisa, Michelle, thanks for putting that up. I just did actually I have a little easy way to do it. But stay in touch, Tom, and I look forward to seeing you in London with your light bulb.
All right, sounds great. All right, everybody, let's see what else I have for you before we wrap up today. I've got a few other things that I wanted to share with you before we wrap up. Just some basic announcements, if I can get them pulled up here on the screen, which I can. All right, so I do want to spend a moment thanking our sponsors, which is Lightheart Sanders, who are CPAs, and then also Qnity, Benefits by Qnity, which is offering Ally Health, which is virtual mental health care as well as telemedicine. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can search for Qnity. You can watch this episode. We'll do an edited down version of it. If you're listening to this, you probably didn't even hear what I just said there. So reminder also on the Beauty Changes Lives auction, which is open until Friday. We have some great items on there that was going to help you in your business and help you experience more of life. And then also, of course, donate to a great cause. Love hearing from you. Certainly submit a light bulb moment of your own on our website, where you can create comments or suggest a guest. Also check out Erin's podcast, Money 02. Which is where she also gets to interview some wonderful people, such as the guest we had today. So greetings and gratitudes for all of you that joined us today. I'm super thankful. I'm glad to be back on. We are on next week. We have a great guest next week. We'll announce who it is later. But thanks for joining us. I'll stay on and read some comments for a moment, but that will wrap up our session today. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you all soon.